Hello and welcome back to part 3 of finishing our planned pooling baby blanket. In this I will show you how to complete the border of the already finished center section of our baby blanket. It's very simple, it's quick, and you will find how you'll say, oh, I wish I could make more of these or made it bigger for myself. The yarn that we're using is super soft. You're going to love it. Just rubbing it against your skin, you're going to want to give it to a baby. You're going to want to keep it for yourself. So come join me. Let's finish our blanket. And after we finish this blanket, I do plan on having another video on how to make a diaper bag using the same loop yarn. Be using the pastel and the white. Join me then. So let's finish this first. Let's get going. Hello and welcome back to part 3 of the loopity loop baby blanket tutorial. In this tutorial we will be adding a border to the outside edge of our blanket that we made with the planned pooling method. So in this particular video we're going to be using more of our loopity loops. This particular color is called pastel multi. We will also be using another color. This color we're going to be using is white. I'm asking that you don't forget we need to have stitch markers. I chose the ones that do have a locking point on them. You will need a few of them depending on how you choose to do it. So let's get started and finish up our baby blanket. In case you're new to this video, I wanted to remind you I do have 41 loops across on my last row. We will be starting right here in that first loop on your right hand side. I am right-handed, so I will be going this way across. When we do this, when we get to the corner here, we're going to be going down this direction. I'm going to be using white as my first color, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the white out, and we're going to start here on the right hand corner. So with the white, I encourage you to make sure that you have a little bit of no loop in your yarn. If you don't, to make one, you will need a pair of scissors and come right here and separate it just a little bit. And as you can see, there's a little tiny chain link in there. Just go ahead and cut it, and this will make it so that it stretches out. This will come in handy so that you can go ahead and weave in your ends when you're completed. So to begin, we're going to start with placing 2 loops into this first loop right here on the end. What I'd like for you to do is to take the very first loop that you placed. This will be your center loop or your corner loop. This first loop here will be number 1 for number 1 of this row across. Then to continue on, we'll be doing the same thing, just placing 1 loop per loop across. Keep on going. I'll meet you at the other side of this row. At the end of our first row, you should have the 41 loops plus the extra one at the corner, that very first stitch that we did. So here we are at this other corner. We have 1 loop in here. I would like for you to take your stitch marker and mark the next loop. Now these next 2 loops place in the same as the last loop here. To identify these, the one with the stitch marker is your diagonal corner. This will be the end of this row, and this will be the beginning of this row. Make sure that your loops here are all out and kind of laying flat, so that way you know that they won't come undone, because we're going to have a lot of loops. We're going to be going all the way around the sides. Now along this side here, you want to pick up each row of loops. So we're going to take this loop, our white one, and put it in the next row down from the first row, or the end row right here. So this second row will get a loop. Our next row, and you can feel the holes right here. Our next loop will go ahead and get the next loop in line. This one right here is, I need to tie it off. Okay, and our next loop right here, this is our next row. You're going to place the next loop. Go all the way down to the end, and when you get to that end, you'll have the one, you'll have one that you want to mark, and then you'll have the one that'll start along the 41 across row. Make sure you count to see how many you have. You don't want an oblong and off rectangular or square when you're done. My blanket, I had extra yarn, so I finished the pattern. I actually have 52 rows of, so I'm going to have 52 loops going down my long end and 41 stitches across. So continue around. Don't forget to put your 3 loops in this end of the row, and I'll meet you when we get to the other side to show you how to finish this row. I've completed the one side here, and I'm at my corner. I got my 3 in the corner, and so I'm starting along the next side, which is the first row of the loops to begin the blanket. So I wanted to point out to you where to stick your loops. I know it can be kind of confusing. You got a hole here, you got a hole here, you got a hole here. If you follow your rows, which you can see the lines, see where the loop is actually formed, you want to place the next loop into the center of it. Okay, so here I've placed in the center, so now I got this one side of that loop. Now this is the next loop, and here is the center. So basically you're going to be placing one in the center. If you want to count over 2, then place your next loop in. Okay, 1, 2. You'll double check and make sure that that's the center of that loop, and then place your border loop in there. Okay, and don't forget to kind of snug them up as you go along, so that way they will all lay flat and not fall out by accident as we're making this blanket border. So I'll meet you at the other end. I've counted this. I'm going to have 41 on this side and 53 on the other side for mine. Don't forget to count. It is important. I have gone all the way around and I'm at the end of the first row. Here I have marked my corner piece, and this is the last stitch that I need to place in. So that last stitch is going to go right here where the other three have been going for the corner. So I'm going to leave this one, or take this one out, and now this is going to be the first stitch of 3 that's going to go into our corner piece. Now as you went around, you noticed that we had 3 coming up from our loops at the corners. What I would like for you to do is to take this loop that we've placed our marker on and go back through that loop so that you will have it go underneath and the other 2 will be on top. This will make it so that it doesn't pucker out. It'll stay right in location where it's supposed to be. So we're going to take our next loop, and we're going to take actually the next 3 loops and place it right here in this one with our stitch marker on it. So here's loop number 1. Now I'm going to take this loop out of my corner one, and I'm going to place it on my second loop, and I'm going to lock it in, and it's going to come through that hole too, and then my third loop. When you do each row, before you actually attach all of these, remember to take this one with the stitch marker in it, just go through the center of the loop and bring it up to the back as I just showed you before. Now this row that we're on is the row that has 41 stitches across. Now since we've added 1 stitch on each one of these rows, so now this row here will have 43 stitches across. We've already got number 1, and we're going to go ahead and place our loops in each one across. When you get to the other end over here, be sure to take your corner, your one with the marker, and go through that first one. Okay, so it goes underneath. So by the time you complete this row and have your stitch marker on, you will have 43 along this edge of the row. Now however many you had for however many rows you chose to do, you will add 2 stitches to that as well. Continue on around until you get here to the beginning, and I'll meet you there. I have completed 2 rows, and I wanted to show you how I keep up with my numbers. Okay, you'll see at the beginning here I had 41 stitches across. If we go directly down, you'll see I had 41. I have 53 rows, so I wrote my numbers here. When we added the corner, I'll put the little circle here for my loop, and we finished each row with a stitch right here. This was completing or adding on so that we can have our second row. So as you count across and go around, you're going to notice that each row will have 2 additional stitches per row. So I wrote down here for my row 2, I'm going to have 43 stitches across. I'll have 1 stitch that will have my stitch marker in it. That will be my corner one. Remember, our corner will also flip under that loop so that we can have those maintained solid at the corner. So I'm ready to start row number 3. So I will be doing the same thing. We have our loop here. We have our center that's identified and the finish of the rows, so that this row now for mine will have 45 stitches across, and then we have right here would be number 45, and this one the separate one, and then this will start number 1 going this direction till I get to number 57. Okay, and here's our center, and this will start number 1 for the new row. I'm going to stop showing you what I do, because after 3 rows of white I'm going to change back to my pastel color, which will be the same as the blanket. I am not going to put a pattern into it because it will be kind of hard and it really won't show up as it should. So the next thing I'm going to show you on the video is my progress of doing these rows around, as well as the completed project. Then I'll show you how to finish the edging on our blanket so that you can go ahead and use it for a child, or if you choose to make one big enough for yourself. So I'll see you in a little bit. Have fun, and be sure to count each row. I'm coming up on the end of my second row of my pastel multicolor, and you wouldn't believe me unless I showed you. This is all that I have left. But it's enough to finish this row to here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop in my corner row, and then we're going to start our actual edging. Now if you wanted to make yours wider, I encourage it. The only bad thing about this yarn is, like I said before, there's about 15 yards per skein, and unless you get it on sale, it's very expensive in my opinion. But I love it. It's soft and it does what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to finish the second row of these colors here for my border, and then I'm going to show you how to finish off this blanket. Okay, so I've placed my last loop in the one that is considered my corner, and I'm going to go down about 3 or 4 loops and cut my loop yarn. I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut in between each one of these loops for making it into one yarn that I can finish the edging with. So here's the last one. Here we go. Make sure you untwist it so that you know that you're cutting the right one. Alright, so with this being my last loop and my string, I'm just going to run it through here gently so I'll know that this is the end of my row. But we're going to start here where our, not this one, but this one, well, wait a second. Yeah, that's our last one. So we're going to skip the one with our thing in it here, and we're going to start on the next loop over. Let me make our lens closer so you can see it better. For those of you who are not familiar with some of my videos, I do use a GoPro camera, so I'm not able to zoom in and out as I'm talking. Another thing I wanted to point out was about this yarn from Joanns Fabrics and Crafts. They do have a lot of coupons. I highly recommend you using coupons. I was able to get these at about 60% off, which is a really good price, and that's why I'm able to make this. I am planning on making a diaper bag with the two other skeins that I have left and my leftover white. So let's get started on finishing this off. Remember this one here with our last loop in it. We're going to start on our next one over, and all you're going to do is take the next loop and go through the center of the loop on your right hand side. I am right-handed, so we're going to be going this way towards the left. After you bring your loop all the way through, make sure that the loop comes all the way down to the bottom of that loop. We're going to take our second loop, or the next one on the left hand side, and go back through that loop so you can see how it's going to finish here. This will go quickly, and all the way around we will go. When you get to the very end, I'll show you how we're going to finish this end right here. So make sure you don't skip any loops. I've done it a few times already. It is kind of frustrating to have to go back and fix a loop, but you want it to look right and finish right. So you see how when you bring your loops all the way to the end, it finishes very nicely. So continue around. Even when you get to the corner, just keep on going around, and I will meet you back here at the beginning. So I am at the last 3 stitches. Still have my stitch marker in. So let's finish our corner. So loop, okay, got our loop here. Okay, we're going to take our loop here. Okay, then the string, where'd it go? The string that we cut for the end is can you believe that I already tied it to the first one? Hang on a second. I guess I got a little ahead of myself. So anyway, with this last loop, what we're going to do is we're going to take the yarn here, and we're going to come up into this right here, and that'll stop it. And then we're going to pick up the two loops of that very first one that we did. Now I know it's a different color and it's going to look kind of out of place, but this is the fun of this loop yarn. So now we're going to take, see, we went through the two right here. Now we're going to take this and go back into that center one, and we're going to bring it to the back. And only you know where you stopped and started at. Unfortunately, we do have the yellow. And you see how nice our corners look? Now I'm going to take this yarn and I'm going to weave it in and out, usually 2 or 3 times on each of these rows. And here's where the white and I joined of the same color is stopping and starting here, of when I started the pastel multi on top of the white. So weave in all your ends and look at it and say, wow, this really looks nice. I think this would also look nice with like a 4 or 5 inch border in this pastel multi, but like I was running really low. So this completes our blanket. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and please come again. I will be making a diaper bag in the next tutorial. So thank you again, and I will show you some screenshots of what the blanket looks like finished. So here I'm showing you the finished. I hope you give it a shot and try to make one. I'm going to show you up close how nice the edging looks. Plan pooling baby blanket with border. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you come back again. My name is Garnet, and I like to do crochet. Bye-bye.